In the 13th century, the Islamic world was facing a major crisis. From the east, the Mongols were advancing. In the west, Crusader states still controlled the coastline. Meanwhile, the Abbasid Caliphate was losing its power. The Mamluk system was one of the most unique military structures of the medieval world. Mamluks were recruited at a young age and trained in specialized military academies in Cairo. They mastered horseback riding and archery, transforming into elite cavalry warriors. Their loyalty was not to families, but directly to their commanders. At first, the Mamluks were not independent. They served within the Ayyubid state, founded by Saladin. They were first used as palace guards and elite cavalry units. Over time, they became the most powerful military force within the state. By the year 1250, the Mamluks were no longer just a military class. They had gained enough power to influence the leadership of the state. In 1250, they seized control and established their own state. Thus, the era of the Bahri Mamluks had begun. In 1258, Mongol armies reached Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. Soon, the city was placed under siege. The fall of Baghdad created a massive shock across the Islamic world. The Mongol armies continued advancing, and Syria became their next target. Mongol armies rapidly advanced into the lands of Syria. Damascus and the surrounding cities fell under serious threat. The Mamluks began preparing to stop the approaching threat. The Mamluk army marched north, preparing to confront the Mongols. In 1260, the Mamluk army prepared to confront the Mongols in the Valley of Ain Jalut. The Mamluk army was commanded by Sultan Baybars. One of his leading commanders was Baybars. The two armies faced each other at Ain Jalut. As the battle began, the Mamluks executed a planned tactical retreat. Mongol forces began pursuing the retreating Mamluk troops. But this retreat was a trap. The Mamluk forces launched a sudden counterattack, surrounding the Mongol army. At Ain Jalut, the Mamluk army successfully stopped the Mongol advance. The Mongol army was forced to retreat. This victory was more than just the outcome of a battle. It became a turning point that changed the course of history. With the victory at Ain Jalut, the Mongol advance into the Middle East was halted. The Mamluks secured control over Syria and Palestine. Mamluk commanders began shaping the new balance of power in the region. The Mamluks had now become the dominant military power of the region. After the victory at Ain Jalut, one of the most important leaders of the Mamluk army emerged. That leader was Sultan Baybars soon took control of the Mamluk Sultanate. Under his leadership, the Mamluk Sultanate entered a new era of strength. Sultan Baybars first secured the frontier against the Mongol threat. Defensive positions along the Syrian frontier were strengthened. Mamluk commanders reorganized the defense of the region. This prevented the Mongols from advancing once again. Sultan Baybars did not fight only against the Mongols. Crusader fortresses along the Levant coast still posed a serious threat. Baybars launched a series of campaigns against these fortresses. As a result of these campaigns, many Crusader fortresses fell under Mamluk control. Mamluk campaigns changed the balance of power along the eastern Mediterranean coast. Crusader fortresses gradually became isolated. The Mamluk army turned toward the last major Crusader strongholds in the region. Thus, Mamluk dominance along the eastern Mediterranean coast began to take shape. In 1291, the Mamluk army laid siege to the city of Acre. The city was the last major Crusader stronghold in the eastern Mediterranean. After intense fighting, the Mamluk forces managed to breach the city. With the fall of Acre, Crusader presence in the region came to an end. During the Mamluk period, Cairo became one of the most important cities in the world. The city became a major center of international trade. Madrasas were established, and intellectual life flourished. Cairo became the political and cultural center of the Islamic world. The Mamluk army was one of the most disciplined military forces of its time. Each Mamluk soldier was a skilled horseman and expert archer. These cavalry units provided exceptional mobility on the battlefield. Thanks to this military structure, the Mamluks remained one of the most powerful armies in the region for a long time. Over time, a new era began within the Mamluk Sultanate. During this period, the ruling class was largely of Circassian origin. Although the political structure changed, the military strength remained. The Mamluks continued to be one of the most powerful states in the region. By the late 15th century, the Ottoman Empire began to rise rapidly in power. The Ottomans were expanding from Anatolia toward the Middle East. This expansion made a direct confrontation with the Mamluks inevitable. Thus, a new era of conflict began between the two great powers. In 1516, the Mamluks and the Ottomans faced each other at the Battle of Ain Jalut. The Ottoman army gained a significant advantage with its advanced weaponry. The Mamluk army suffered a heavy defeat in this battle. This defeat marked the beginning of the end for the Mamluk Sultanate. After the victory at Ain Jalut, the Ottoman army advanced toward Cairo. Cairo was the final major center of the Mamluk Sultanate. In 1517, the Ottoman army captured the city. Thus, the Mamluk Sultanate came to an end, politically